Hello, my dear learners. I hope you are all doing well. Today, I have an amazing story to share with you. It is not only for your English listening practice, but it is also a story that may change the way you think about learning English. The story is called English Was Everywhere, But I Never Saw It. It shows us that sometimes the best classroom is not inside four walls. Sometimes it is right in front of our eyes. There was a young man named Ryan. He was 21 years old and lived in a small town with his parents and his younger sister, Emma. Ryan had one dream. He wanted to speak English confidently. Whenever he watched successful people on YouTube, he admired the way they spoke the English language. He imagined himself speaking fluently, getting a good job, traveling to different places, and making his parents proud. But there was one problem. His family did not have enough money. His father, David, drove a local bus every day. His mother, Sarah, stitched clothes for neighbors. They worked hard from morning until night, but they earned just enough to pay the monthly bills. One afternoon, Ryan stood in front of a famous English coaching center. A large poster said, "Become fluent in just 6 months." Ryan smiled with hope and walked inside. A receptionist welcomed him. "How can I help you?" she asked politely. "I want to join your English course," Ryan replied. She gave him a brochure. When Ryan looked at the course fee, his smile slowly disappeared. The fee was more than his family earned in 1 month. He quietly returned the brochure. "Thank you," he said softly, and walked away. As he walked home, he felt disappointed. He looked at the busy streets and thought, maybe English is only for people who can afford expensive classes. That evening, his father noticed that Ryan was unusually quiet. "What happened, son?" he asked. Ryan told him everything. His father listened carefully. Then he smiled and said, "Ryan, remember one thing. A classroom can teach you grammar, but only life can teach you confidence." Ryan looked confused. "I don't understand," he admitted. His father pointed toward the window. Outside, buses passed by. Children played in the park. Shopkeepers talked to customers. Bright signboards covered the streets. "Tomorrow," his father said, "don't search for English inside a classroom. Search for English outside." Ryan nodded, but he still did not understand those words. The next morning, he decided to visit the town library. He hoped to borrow an English grammar book. As he entered the library, an elderly librarian named Mr. Wilson greeted him with a warm smile. "You look worried," he said. Ryan replied, "I wanted to join an English course, but I could not afford it. I think my dream ended before it even started." Mr. Wilson remained silent for a few moments. Then he stood up and walked toward the library window. He pointed outside. "What do you see?" he asked. Ryan answered, "I see a supermarket, a bus stop, a pharmacy, a restaurant, and many people." Mr. Wilson smiled. "No," he said gently, "you see English." Ryan frowned. "I don't understand." The old man walked back to his desk and picked up a small notebook. He handed it to Ryan. He said, "I have a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, don't study from any English book. Instead, walk around your town. Every time you find an English word, write it in this notebook." Ryan looked surprised. "Only that?" he asked. Mr. Wilson nodded. "Yes, don't translate every word immediately. Just notice it, observe it, think about it. Your learning begins when your eyes begin to notice." Ryan thanked the old librarian and walked out of the library with the notebook in his hand. As he looked around, he suddenly noticed something strange. The bus stop sign was in English. The supermarket's name was in English. Even the bottle of water he carried had English words on it. Ryan stopped walking. For the first time in his life, he realized something. English was everywhere, but he had never really seen it. The next morning, Ryan woke up earlier than usual. He put the small notebook into his pocket and left his house with a simple goal. He wanted to find English around him. As he walked toward the market, he looked carefully at every signboard: hospital, pharmacy, bakery, supermarket, stationery. He smiled. "I passed these places every day," he said to himself, "but I never noticed these words." He wrote every new word in his notebook. Soon, he reached a bus stop. A large board showed words like entrance, exit, ticket counter, and waiting area. Ryan copied every word. An old man sitting beside him noticed his notebook. "What are you writing?" he asked. Ryan smiled. "I am learning English." The old man laughed kindly. "Then you chose the right place. English is everywhere if you open your eyes." Ryan thanked him and continued walking. Later, he entered a supermarket. Instead of shopping quickly, he looked at every product: milk, bread, butter, sugar, rice, salt, cooking oil, shampoo, soap, toothpaste. He realized that almost every packet contained English words. He slowly read each label. Sometimes he pronounced the words correctly, sometimes he made mistakes, but he never felt embarrassed because no one was watching him. When he reached home, his little sister Emma became curious. "What is that notebook?" she asked. Ryan showed it to her. "I found 32 English words today." Emma's eyes became wide. 32 without a teacher? Ryan nodded proudly. That evening, his father looked through the notebook. He smiled and said, "You learned more today than you learned in many weeks because today you observed." The next day, Ryan decided to continue the challenge. This time, he paid attention to his mobile phone. He opened different apps: settings, gallery, camera, download, update, password, search, share, delete, save. He laughed. "I used these words every day, but I never tried to understand them." He wrote them all down. After lunch, he visited a small cafe. He looked at the menu: coffee, sandwich, French fries, cold coffee, orange juice, chocolate cake. He ordered a cup of tea, but before leaving, he quietly read the menu 3 more times. Every place became a lesson. Every object became a teacher. Every English word became a small step toward his dream. 3 days later, Ryan returned to the library. Mr. Wilson looked at the thick notebook and smiled. "So, what did you discover?" he asked. Ryan answered excitedly. "I discovered that English was always around me. I just never paid attention." Mr. Wilson nodded. "Very good, but finding words is only the first step." Ryan looked surprised. "What comes next?" The old librarian picked up a pen. He wrote one word in the notebook: bottle. Then he smiled. "Now make one sentence." Ryan thought for a moment. Finally, he said, "This is my bottle." "Excellent," Mr. Wilson replied. Then he wrote another word: market. Ryan smiled. "I went to the market yesterday." Mr. Wilson clapped softly. "You see, words become sentences. Sentences become conversations. Conversations build confidence." Ryan felt a new excitement inside him. For the first time, learning English no longer felt impossible. It felt simple. As he walked home that evening, he looked at every building with different eyes. The world around him had not changed, but he had. And deep inside his heart, Ryan believed that this small notebook was going to change his life. His pronunciation, he simply practiced. Then he remembered Mr. Wilson's advice: practices become sentences. Sentences become conversations. Ryan decided to make one sentence with every new word he learned. He looked at the bottle on his table. "This is my bottle." He looked at the window. "I opened the window." He pointed at the chair. "My father repaired this chair." Soon, his room became his first English classroom. Every object gave him a chance to speak. At first, he spoke very slowly. Sometimes he forgot simple words. Sometimes he stopped in the middle of a sentence, but he never gave up. Every evening, he stood in front of a mirror and spoke English for 5 minutes. On the first day, he felt nervous. On the second day, he laughed at his own mistakes. On the third day, he spoke a little longer. One afternoon, Emma watched him practicing. She smiled and asked, "Who are you practicing with?" Ryan laughed. "I am talking to myself." Emma giggled. "Then your student is very lucky." From that day, Emma became his practice partner. Every evening, they learned 5 new words together. They played small games. Emma asked simple questions. Ryan answered them in English. If he made a mistake, they both laughed and tried again. Learning became fun. A few days later, Ryan visited the public library again. Mr. Wilson gave him another challenge. For the next 7 days, he said, speak at least one English sentence every time you leave your house. Ryan looked surprised. Only one sentence? Mr. Wilson smiled. Small steps create big results. The next morning, Ryan accepted the challenge. As he walked to the market, he quietly said, "The weather is beautiful today." People walked past him without paying attention. Nobody laughed. Nobody stared. Ryan suddenly realized something. The fear existed only inside. The next day, he entered a grocery store. He greeted the shopkeeper. "Good morning." The shopkeeper smiled and replied, "Good morning." Ryan felt proud. It was only 2 words, but those 2 words gave him confidence. Every day he practiced a little more. He described the trees. He described the road. He described the sky. He described everything he saw around him. One evening, while returning home, Ryan noticed a foreign tourist standing near the bus stop. The tourist looked confused. He held a map in his hand and looked around again and again. Finally, he walked toward Ryan. "Excuse me," he asked, "where is the city museum?" Ryan's heart started beating faster. This was the moment he had imagined many times, but now it was real. For a few seconds, he forgot every English word. He wanted to run away. Then he took a deep breath. He remembered all his daily practice. Slowly, he smiled and said, "Go straight, then turn left. The museum is next to the park." The tourist smiled warmly. "Thank you so much." "You are welcome," Ryan replied. The tourist walked away happily. Ryan stood there without moving. A huge smile appeared on his face. It was not a long conversation. It was not perfect English, but it was his first real conversation with a stranger. As he walked home, he felt different. He no longer believed that English belonged only to classrooms or expensive courses. He finally understood the truth. Confidence did not appear in one day. It grew 1 word, 1 sentence, and 1 small conversation at a time. That night, Ryan opened his notebook. On the last page, he wrote 1 sentence in big letters. "The world became my classroom because I finally decided to learn from it." He closed the notebook with a smile, but he had no idea that his biggest challenge was still waiting.